packed bags for my fiancée and ghosted her after she lured my friend into bed. Now she begs forgiveness, but I already left the country. I work in politics, in the dark smoky room side, and for the past 6 months my fiancé hasn't seen much of each other because of a recent promotion that's been the opportunity of a lifetime. Let's call her H. H and I have been together since university, and to be blunt, she was the love of my life. Sweet, dedicated, fiercely loyal, and my best friend. Together we've done some pretty amazing things, and when I look back on my life highlights, our travels and years together will definitely be there. H and I have been finding the time away from each other tough. I work from about 6:30 a.m. to 11 p.m., tend to be on the phone at weekends. However, she's been really supportive and has continued to tell me to focus on the job for now. We both plan to move to NYC together once I'd completed this job. I know now that it's been a lot harder for H than she let on, and for me I've just desperately missed my partner. However, long ago now I came down into the bathroom to say good morning to H, and noticed a big love bite on her neck, which she'd been hiding under big jumpers. I confronted her about this as I hadn't been able to touch her in weeks after contracting scabies in Africa. I knew it wasn't me. This all happened so fast I barely remember anything that was said. I just remember the feeling that my stomach was suddenly lined with lead. She told me it was an allergic reaction of all things, but after pressing it became clear she was hiding something, and then it quickly became clear that we both knew what had happened. Turns out she'd cheated with a mutual friend she secretly met up with. Says she went to him for advice about our relationship and ended up seeking affection from him. She told me, obviously begged for another chance, asked me to marry her, and then eventually left in a taxi to her friend's house with her bags that I packed for her. The house is all mine, we're not married. Nothing legal to worry about here. After she left I calmly got everything ready for work, made my packed lunch, ironed my shirt, and then just lost it, and sat down with some whiskey and some smokes and wallowed in self-pity for the night. This has been my nightly routine for the last week. I've had a history of depression, so whilst this has hit me unbelievably hard, the numbness and feelings of emptiness ultimately makes it easier to get things done. I'm not a crying wreck, I'm just kinda done. Over the next few days I kept silent, and didn't respond to any of the 90 missed calls. Eventually I rang her and told her we're over. I forgave her and dropped all of her things at my friend's house while he was out at work. Thing is, I don't hate her for this. I understand how she was feeling, and I know my job got in the way of what was a very close and spontaneous relationship. We became different people. I can forgive her, but we have to be over. I'll never trust her again, and I can't have her in my life anymore. Especially not when it's not even a good idea for me to have a partner while my life's like this. Whilst I forgive her, it doesn't mean I can ever love her like I did. The next few days kind of led to a few impulse decisions. I went straight to my boss, who is also one of my best friends, who, bless him, offered to give up all his annual leave so I could sort myself out. When I told him being in that house would just bring back bad memories, he made me an offer, a year-long position working on an enormous project for an international government, and I took it. This involves a completely new role, a new life in a new country, and a completely different kind of office and project. So I put my house up for rent, which my brother will look after for me, and decided to just buy a ticket and head to my new home early before the position starts. It also makes visa stuff easier. I've not told H, because I've tried to maintain NC and she has all her things. The taxi is coming in about 2 hours. Here are my questions. 1. Should I tell H? Is it classless to let her find out from a friend? 2. How do I get closure? What process can I use when I'm so removed from everything? 3. How do I stop this being a quick fix? Is there a risk I get home after a year and it all just instantly comes back? I'm really fearful that all I'm doing is running away from my problem, and I'm worried moving away will mean I never engage with the fundamental betrayal. 4. Any Redditors have tips for moving to a new country? How do you meet people? 5. Have I been too rash? 6. Importantly, anyone got any tips on getting over cheating? This is the second time I've been cheated on now, and whilst I'm quite happy to have a year of just being single, I'm worried about what happens after that. Is there even a point to trying to stay faithful to anyone? Thanks in advance, and thanks for all the support over the years, which has helped me manage the last week of my life. Update. Firstly, thank you so much for all your support and kind words. It's made it a lot easier to keep doing the right thing, and I've taken on board so many of your comments. Really meant a lot, and I felt it more than I've felt much in the past week or so. So some of you may remember that I had some questions, and that I was on my way to flying out to start a new life, which I never mentioned is in Africa. Stuff took some pretty funny turns since then, and I thought I'd update you. So I am still not in Africa. I missed my flight after my cab was involved in a very minor collision. No one was hurt, but you can't get another cab quickly on the motorway. Luckily, I've got total insurance up to my eyeballs. I phoned my boss to tell him, and was about to book flights for the weekend when my boss asked me to stay a few more days as he'd had an absolute tidal wave hit his desk. I'd do anything for this guy, so I obviously agreed, and ended up deciding to stick around for Christmas to say goodbye to my family and give them a bit of time before I left for a year. My boss's secretary spent most of the week finding me a new flat, booking me immunizations, and generally sorting out my life to say thank you, which was really nice. So I haven't told her I'm leaving, and no contact has been maintained. A good friend said she managed to have a conversation with H and made it clear that I'm serious about needing a significant period of silence between us. H is apparently handling it really badly, sobbing, having to have her friends look after her phone, etc. Which I thought would make me happy, but it really doesn't. There is one person I told, her father. Now anyone else on here I would strongly advise against breaking NC for X's family members, but you have to understand that I cannot not answer the phone to this man. I have so much respect for him, and we've spent a huge amount of time alone drinking his amazing whiskey collection and talking about things. He's given me a lot of vital support and counsel in my life, and I'd be much worse off without him. He wanted to know if I could ever forgive his daughter. I explained that there's no point continuing now the trust is fundamentally destroyed, and he apologized and accepted that. He actually told me I should think about getting myself away for some alone time and begged me to meet up with him in the city I work in. At this point I told him where I'm going and asked him not to tell H until I'm gone. He promised he would honor my wishes, and that was enough for me. This man is old school, and I know his words mean a lot to him. I also left some messages to pass on to family members clandestinely once I'm gone, because the whole family has been amazing to me. My time since has been much smoother than it could have been. I've hit the gym a lot, rule 1, and have spent at least 2 hours every night, except Christmas, sparring with my brother. I've caught up with old friends before I leave and spent a lot of time with my family. We managed to complete the business that landed on my boss's desk, and he took me for an incredible goodbye meal with himself and his wife, which was nice. It was some unlimited meat joint, which makes me wonder why all things aren't unlimited meat. My own mood has been promising. For a few days there was a concerning intensity of numbness, but keeping myself busy really helped me feel normal again. Can't stress enough to everyone out there how important it is to get up and do stuff rather than wallowing, changing your whole mindset, and making everything so much easier. In terms of other plans, I've already signed up to a Muay Thai gym out there and managed to find an old training partner who's working in the same city, so I have organized a meet. My plan is to just treat this a bit like a year out at university, work hard but I'm going to get as much out of the experience as I can. I plan to blow all the money I was saving for H's birthday holiday. Thank you to everyone who assured me that there are some people you can trust out there, but I think at least for a while I'm going to have to be single. I'm thinking of going to get some help because I know that functionally I'll be single for at least plus 1 year, and I don't want distrust to become my default setting. Went to see my old psych about my depression flaring up, who thought I was doing really well considering the circumstances, so yay. I'm looking forward to my new life so much, and I feel much better about my ability to use it as a new start rather than just running away and hiding my feelings. I might write H a letter one day to get some answers to some questions, but I'm still undecided and probably won't go ahead with it until I'm sure I'm on the way to recovery. To everyone out there, follow the advice on here, keep yourself busy, and stick with NC. The whole next year is about me, and I'm excited about what I can produce. Thank you everyone, and good luck. Update. I'm back in the UK for a few weeks visiting some old friends and family, and my old boss, and I thought I'd write an update. As some of you might have read, 4 months ago I broke up with my ex after she cheated on me. This spurred me to accept a job offer in Africa, and the rest is history. Firstly, Africa is the most incredible continent in the world. I'm based in Tanzania, but I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of traveling. The new job is incredible. I got some crazy experience, got my own driver and secretary, made some really big differences here, and I think accepting this job was the best decision of my life. I'll be sad to leave at the end of the year. In terms of how I'm dealing with the breakup, this has been the perfect way to deal with it. It's hard to wallow for too long when you're riding around dirt roads and are sitting with new friends sharing beer and looking at the most stunning natural beauty you'll find. One of the perks of the job is that we work closely with NGOs who send out lots of aid workers/volunteers around my age who are all still looking to have a good time. I'm still single, and it's been great to recapture my youth and go out and be free and make some new life experiences. On another thread, someone said that at the start of every good story/adventure requires something like what happened to me to occur, to expose myself and make myself a bit braver than I would have been. I love that. H has really just been the first half a paragraph in a story that's been so enjoyable and invigorating. Here's the breakup porn that I had to update you all on. This is proof that no matter how bad it is now, things can change, and once you heal, the dynamics of power can fundamentally shift in an instant. I've maintained NC with H. I've been updated by some friends that after she found out I left, she asked all my friends if they know my African number. She's blocked from all email/social media/my phone, and has been living with her parents for months now, having decided to spend some time on her own. Bear in mind, I've not seen her since this all kicked off, or spoken to her. When I landed in London a few days ago, guess who was waiting for me in arrivals, apart from my mum, of course. H comes from nowhere and kind of looks at me and starts crying. I was kind of speechless, to be honest. He had seen the flight details I'd posted on the wall of a mutual friend and taken a 4-hour train down to London to ask me to take her back. Bear in mind, this entire time my mum is hovering in the background. I told H nothing had changed, thanked her for coming. I was genuinely touched by whatever this display was, and gave her some money to get a cab home, partly because she was a wreck, partly to make myself feel superior. At this point it really struck me how much everything had changed. I definitely still have some feelings for H, but they're couched much more reflectively. I felt extreme pity for her at that moment, and I don't think I've ever felt so sure that being on my own is what's best for me. Thanks for all the support. Some of the advice I received on here has made a huge difference to how I've spent the last 4 months. For those of you just starting your journey, it gets better. Maintain no contact, look after yourself, go to the gym and make time to meet new people. I recommend taking yourself out on your own. It helps you figure out who you are and what you lost. Cheating GF became pregnant after one night stand and lied it was my baby, so I kicked her out. A bit about us. We're both in our 30s and have just moved to a whole new city across the country a few months ago, as I had been offered a much better paying job in an area that has generally lower living costs, as well as it being a nice area to raise a child. She is currently 7 months pregnant. With what I thought to be my child, I was initially shocked since we always used protection, or I pulled out, but after having some time to think about it, I was ecstatic. It was the perfect time in our lives for kids. I just finished the last payments on my flat, low-interest mortgages and first-time buyer benefits FTW, as well as being a strong contender for the job I currently have. Anyway, recently she has been very distant and reserved. I just chalked that up to pregnancy hormones, but during breakfast she seemed even more distant and quiet than usual, so I asked her what was up a few times until she yelled that she doesn't always have to answer me and walked away. Right, whatever. I was late for work, so I went on my way. I got a message around lunchtime asking me if I could leave the lab early because there was something very important she wanted to talk about and didn't want to do it after I got home after a long day. So I finished up my work and okayed it with my boss, and went home picking up some subs for us on the way. To cut a long story short and beating around the bush short, she told me that while I was working Hell Week at the lab, she met a guy during a night out with some work friends, and one thing led to another, and they ended up sleeping together. This carried on for a week or two, supposedly because I was always working and not spending enough time with her. I worked 14-hour days during that time and just wanted to come home and sit. She mentioned how he lied about using a rubber by saying he was using ultra-thin ones and didn't realize what he did until she felt it. The time of this fits in with when she was up the duff. I can't describe how angry I felt after she told me. I got up and threw her sub into the bin and left the house to go for a drive to a friend's so I could calm down. I returned home the next morning and demanded we book an appointment for a prenatal paternity test, which she was initially very much against but eventually gave in and agreed. I booked an appointment that morning for the following week and I stayed with my mate until the day. I took the afternoon off work and drove us there in silence, aside from her crying and apologizing, got the procedure over with and dropped her back, and went back to my mate's until results day. Well, we got the results back today and guess what? It turns out I am not the father of that little sprog. I drove us home and demanded she get out and start packing because I wanted her out before I got back from work / picking my stuff up from my friends. She was hysterical and saying how I couldn't just leave her alone and homeless while she was so close to the due date and so far away from home, and that she really loved me and wanted me to raise this bastard child with her because it's the only way it'll have a decent life. She's an arts graduate and was working a minimum wage job before the move / pregnancy. I never made it into work. I drove into a field, rang my boss to tell him what happened, and he told me to take as much time as I needed and he'd have a PhD student cover my work. I stayed there for hours just laying in the seat and cried at how everything had fallen apart. I had just gotten my life in order, everything was stable and ready to go for the baby. We even finished designing the baby's room. I switched my phone back on and saw I had several missed calls and voicemails, a few from her, some from her family and a couple from my mate telling me to come to her as soon as I could. I rang my mate up, filled him in and went over to him. And that's what's happened so far. I haven't gone back to the house yet. I just can't bring myself to go back there knowing that all the plans I had for it are passed away. I have no idea what to do anymore. What should I do, Reddit? I apologize in advance if my rambling wall of text is difficult to read. I just wanted to get it all out and have been typing on my tablet. Quick update: I'm so sorry for the late reply, but I've been sorting things out with a solicitor and her family. I took the advice and after calming down bought her a one-way coach ticket back home. Trains don't go to 304 Sville. The morning after this went down I went to the house with my friend with me and she was still there, which I expected. She immediately waddled over and started hugging me and crying, begging not to end our relationship. I stayed with my initial feelings of wanting her to get the hell out of here. I gave her the piece of paper with the coach ticket and then told her to gather her stuff so I can drop her off at the coach station. After much more crying she packed her suitcase and I loaded it into the car and drove us. Friend was with us all throughout as a witness because you can never be too careful, to the coach stand. After getting her out of the car with even more crying and sitting her down in the waiting room, she calmed down a bit because there were people around, but she asked me what she's meant to do now as a jobless, homeless single mother. My response was, "Duck you, Jenny, go to Zach. It's his problem now." Just kidding, I told her that she should try to find the father, wished her the best and left. I had a few calls from her family asking me if I was out of my ducking mind and etc., but I've had my phone off since then, and I'm just trying to move forward. I might make a proper update on the weekend and turn my phone back on. But for the time being I'm trying to focus on work to catch up on everything. Thank you all so much for your support. This truly is an amazing community, and I didn't expect this to blow up like it has. Fiancee thought AP was better and cheated with him to later find out karma is real cause he dumped her. My wife and I have been married for 9 years, and we have a 7-year-old daughter. I am 35M and my wife is 34F. At the end of last year, November, she had a co-worker, 38M, quit after working together for 5 years and she told him to keep in touch. She has told me in the past that he used to ask her out and while at work they would send memes and jokes back and forth to each other via email and such. I would say they had a friendly work relationship. He's the kind of person that would send notes, write notes and such to her almost every day. I'm not one to be too jealousy. She has been respectful to me, always telling me what's going on. Normally she gets hit on by a lot of men at work and wherever she goes. I never get too worried about it because my wife is very beautiful and looks much younger than her age. She always tells other men that she's married and has a child. Back in February, she told me she had been texting him just to see what he's been up to and to catch up. I thought nothing of it. Fast forward to a few days ago, I checked the phone bill and noticed that from February to April there has been at least 10,000, yes, 10,000, texts sent between the two. I was in shock and a little upset. I then checked the time logs for the texts, and would see he would be texting her pretty much every single hour of the day, sometimes sending 10 to 20 per hour. I really don't know what man has the time to do that. I work 10 hours a day 5 days a week and barely have time for myself. He is a divorced man with 2 teen daughters. He lives at home at his parents' house. I know a lot of people are still in quarantine due to COVID-19, but wow, he must have a lot of time on his hands. I confronted my wife about this a few days ago, and she told me she was shocked and didn't realize it was that much. I then told her that there has to be some boundaries. I didn't want them texting each other anymore, and this has to stop. I said that a man shouldn't be texting a married woman this much. She agreed, but I can tell by her body language she wasn't too happy about. I told her I will be monitoring the phone bill every once in a while. Do you guys think I am wrong and just too jealous? I have a gut feeling that this may have or is going to turn into something more later on if I didn't intervene. I do know the guy. I've met him before at one of the Christmas parties at her workplace. I remember spending at least an hour or two talking to him about sports. Update: she won't stop her emotional affair with the other man. I will not accept that behavior and will be proceeding with divorce. I do not need this in my life. I do not need a woman like this. She wants to leave our relationship/marriage to be with him. She says he fills her emotionally and wants to pursue him. They were planning on getting physical right before I found out. I won't argue with a person that doesn't want to be with me and plans on being unfaithful to me. All I can do is let her go. I am just going to keep my mouth shut and consult an attorney. We'll be prepared for a hard, difficult uphill battle. I'm going to consult a lawyer right away. That's what some of my close family members/friends/co-workers have been telling me to do right away. I just want to plan things out and be prepared for the worst. I'm just looking out for my daughter. I don't want anything to happen to her, and if she moves in with him, she sure as hell won't be taking my daughter to their 3-bedroom 1-bath crap house, with 6 people already living there. Honestly, at this time, I'm not afraid of a divorce. I've been the sole provider since she was in school. I pay the mortgage, have my own hobbies, and take care of my daughter. If she wants to leave me for an older guy who lives with his parents, that's fine with me. Update: it's been 3 weeks since she moved out to live with her sister. We are currently in the process of divorce. I have not seen or heard from her since, nor has she ever once asked about our daughter. Honestly, it really hurts that we are going through this. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night and think that it was a horrible nightmare. I also started a new career this week: higher pay, better vacation, more time with family. Sometimes I wish this all never happened. I want to tell her all about things about my new career, my new coworkers, and overall better work life. I know she doesn't care about us, nor should I care about a person that doesn't love us anymore. I never knew a person I once loved could be this heartless. I have a great family that supports my decision to let her go. I have never been a fan of cheaters. She's never brought up the idea of reconciliation or stopping her affair. Her parents and brothers love me to pass away, and they don't want to lose me as a son-in-law. Today I found out she has to move out of her sister's apartment, and she's been calling around town to find one. From what I heard, she is not having any luck finding a place to live. Is it too soon to say karma is catching up to her? As for the AP, I suppose he can't/won't/didn't offer her any help? I don't know, nor do I care. She chose this route. I'm just going my own way.